their brutal assault on veterans and the people who care for them. It does it by eliminating $23 billion in guaranteed funding for health.
All right, guys, we caught the House bill. MSNBC is actually covering it. Not my choice, but they actually have it live right now.
Provide vital resources Americans need. Instead,
so we can
this
kind of hear
Republican
some of the
cut and
things
run
they're
bill
saying.
turns Congress into a
I'm
missing
gonna tell you right now, the
kid on a milk
Democrats
carton and
says
cedes
live,
massive power to Trump.
The Democrats are definitely trying to not make this bill pass. So I'm just gonna go ahead and I'm gonna play this so you guys can hear it.
Stock market just reported its worst day since 2020.
Shutdown. So let's
what
see
really
happens.
enrages me is that this cut-and-run bill sides with the most anti-veteran president in American history. Trump has fired 6,000 veterans, inflicted mass VA layoffs, and killed hundreds of veteran services contracts. Trump even plans to lay off another 83,000 VA workers, and on top of that, this cut-and-run bill makes even deeper cuts to the healthcare services for all those who bravely served our nation. Democrats are more than willing to back bipartisan funding legislation, but we will never sell out our seniors, veterans, and children like this cut-and-run bill shamelessly does. I yield back. Vote no.
Gentlelady from Connecticut reserves. Gentleman from Oklahoma is recognized.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I yield 2 minutes to my good friend, distinguished member of the Rules Committee, and gentleman from Texas, Mr. Roy.
Gentleman's recognized. I thank my friend from Oklahoma. My, how times have changed. How many times have we been sitting on the floor of the House, listening to our colleagues on the other side of the aisle saying, a CR is the greatest thing since sliced bread. We must have the CR. Because when some of us were saying, wait a minute, Mr. President, wait a minute, President Biden, maybe we should actually secure the border of the United States instead of letting millions of people flood in and kill Americans and let fentanyl flow into our communities. So when we wanted to secure the border, and we dared to say that the funding should actually reflect that, and we threatened to, hey, maybe we should actually have a fight on spending, my colleagues on the other side of the aisle said, CR, we gotta have a CR, our precious CR. Well, here we are. And what are we doing? Our colleagues oppose the CR. Why? Because we would have spending frozen for 6 months, down about $7 billion, but importantly, allow DOGE and allow our friends in the administration to continue to expose the absurdity of federal spending. How about $1.5 million to advance diversity, equity, inclusion in Serbia's workplaces? $70,000 for production of a DEI musical in Ireland. $2.5 million for electric vehicles in Vietnam. $47,000 for a transgender opera in Colombia. $32,000 for a transgender comic book in Peru. This is what our Democratic colleagues are fighting for, to continue to fund absurd programs rather than do the common sense work of what we're trying to do, to have more beds for ICE, secure the border of the United States, ensure that our defense is funded, ensure that we're able to hold spending in check so we can actually have a chance of saving this great country. I yield back. Gentleman yields. Gentleman from Oklahoma reserves. Gentlelady from Connecticut is recognized.
The gentleman confirms what we've been saying all along, impoundment. I yield 2 minutes to the gentlewoman from Maine, the distinguished ranking member of the Interior and Environment Subcommittee, Ms. Pingree.
Gentlewoman is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and thank you very much to the ranking member for yielding me this time. I oppose this full-year continuing resolution and urge my colleagues to reject it. If we vote no and reject this CR, we can go back to work and negotiate a regular full-year spending bill. This full-year continuing resolution is not a responsible way to govern. The bill does not set funding levels for individual programs, and because it doesn't, it creates another dangerous opportunity for President Trump and Elon Musk to defund congressional priorities. And we all know what a disaster that has been for our country. An illegal, unconstitutional disaster. It is the duty of Congress to negotiate regular spending bills. This means that we actively decide on every individual program's funding level, and we make adjustments where necessary. For example, the Indian Health Service needs an additional $345 million just to maintain current direct healthcare services. This continuing resolution fails to provide those funds, so tribal communities will experience a lower level of healthcare service. A regular bill also gives very specific directions to agencies to carry out specific work. For example, in prior years, in the Interior Bill, we have directed the EPA to conduct PFAS research that will help farmers, ranchers, and rural communities manage the disastrous impact PFAS has had in places like my home state of Maine. Under this continuing resolution, without our direction, this administration may decide that work should stop. As ranking member of the Interior and Environment Appropriations Subcommittee, I'm deeply concerned that the Republican majority is giving the administration a free pass to abandon programs that protect the public from pollution, that safeguard human health, and that address the climate crisis. I urge a no, and I yield back my time.
Gentlewoman from Connecticut reserves. The gentleman from Oklahoma is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I yield 2 minutes to my very good friend, distinguished gentleman from New York, Mr. Lawler.
The gentleman from New York is recognized.
As the great George Costanza once said, it's not a lie if you believe it. And that's what we've heard today from my Democratic colleagues. A bunch of lies that maybe they sincerely believe. The reality is, this bill does not touch Social Security, it does not touch Medicare, it does not touch Medicaid. Those programs are fully funded and protected. Our veterans, fully funded and protected. Fiscal year 24 was a total of $1.665 trillion. Fiscal year 25, of which we are voting to complete with this CR, is $1.658 trillion. The reduction of $7 billion is because community project funding that has already been paid, already been approved as part of fiscal year 24, is not going to be double paid. So we are saving $7 billion by removing it, as it should be. Why would we pay for projects that have already been paid for? The fact is that we have to keep the government funded and open. Why anyone would vote to shut the government down is beyond me. And when Joe Biden was president of the United States, I voted every time to keep the government funded and open. And the idea that we're going to shut it down because the priorities changed, well, guess what? The administration changed. That's the reality of elections. Donald Trump won in November. Republicans won the House and the Senate. And so, yes, budgets will change. But the fact is that we have to keep the government open. And I would remind my colleagues, the reason we're in this situation is because Senate Democrats under Chuck Schumer passed exactly 0 appropriations bills on the Senate floor. 0. There was nothing to negotiate. They couldn't pass a bill. They refused to pass a bill.
An additional 30 seconds.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. They refused to pass a bill. We passed appropriations bills on the floor last year. We were ready to conference. We were ready to negotiate. Chuck Schumer failed in his responsibilities. It's now incumbent on us to pass a CR through the House and for the Senate to do its job and keep the government open and funded. And with that, I yield back.
Gentleman from Oklahoma reserves. Gentleman from Connecticut.
We can pass it 1 month. We can pass a 1 month CR and do that, and do what we need to do to keep the government open. There is an alternative. I yield 2 minutes to the gentlewoman from New York, the distinguished ranking member of the Commerce, Justice, Science Subcommittee, Ms. Mang.
Gentlelady is recognized.
Thank you. Mr. Speaker, I rise today in opposition to this partisan bill. As ranking member of the House Appropriations Subcommittee on CJS, I cannot stand by as the GOP slashes funding for law enforcement, the courts, NOAA, which includes the National Weather Service. This bill hurts our local police officers by taking away $247 million from their public safety technology and equipment. Additionally, it cuts $350 million from projects that support community efforts to prevent crime, improve law enforcement, to provide precincts with equipment to prevent car theft, and provide victim services. These are projects that Republicans and Democrats on our committee approved and agreed on. Furthermore, the bill does nothing to prevent this administration from gutting NOAA. As a result, the life-saving weather forecast we all receive will be less accurate and timely. Federal funding cuts in the GOP's continuing resolution are dangerous to communities like Queens and so many others. This includes Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, and SNAP benefit, which serve as a lifeline for millions of Americans. Let's be clear, Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid are not entitlements. They are earned benefits that hardworking Americans pay into throughout their lifetime, so they have the opportunity to retire with dignity. Mr. Speaker, this bill allows the administration to fire thousands of employees at the Social Security Administration and close offices nationwide, which will mean long wait times and delayed benefits for families. For these reasons, at the appropriate time, I will offer a motion to recommit this bill back to the House Appropriations Committee. If the House rules permitted, I would have offered the motion with an important amendment to this bill. My amendment would prevent any law or executive action from eliminating, restricting, or reducing access to these programs lawfully owed to beneficiaries across the nation. I ask unanimous consent to insert into the record the text of this amendment. I move back.
Gentlelady, without objection, Gentlelady from Connecticut reserves. Gentleman from Oklahoma is recognized.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I yield 2 minutes to my very good friend, distinguished chairman of the Defense Appropriations Subcommittee, Mr. Calvert of California.
Gentleman is recognized.
I thank my good friend, the chairman of the full committee, Mr. Cole, who's done an excellent job of putting this continuing resolution together under difficult circumstances. The appropriators tried to come to an accommodation, but we weren't able to get there. So the best alternative we have today is this continuing resolution, which does good things for our country. It obviously keeps the government shutdown from happening, and the American people and fully funds our core government services. But something that I'm interested in, and I think most members are interested in, is our national security. This continues to fund our national security. It makes sure that the young men and women who serve our military, especially our enlisted soldiers, who are going to get a historic pay raise, the highest pay raise they've had in 40 years. A lot of these E1s that come in make $11 an hour. Their pay is going to be put up significantly. This is something that I think we need to happen. So I would hope my friends on the other side of the aisle would not vote to diminish these individuals' pay that they need very much.
Yep.
This also supports important weapon systems, the Virginia-class submarine, the Columbia submarine, shipbuilding across the United States, our satellite construction, rebuilding the ordnance for the United States that we need desperately. So a vote against that would stop all of that.
Yep.
And so to me, Mr. Speaker, this is an extremely important vote for our national security. I would hope that everyone would vote for that, vote for the continuing our government, and to make sure that these weapon systems are delivered on time for the American public. And with that, I yield back the balance of my time.
Gentleman yields. The gentleman from Oklahoma is reserved.
And I tell you guys, in the military, we already know what's up. For the most part, we know we get paid very differently when a Republican is in office than when a Democrat is. So I can tell you right now, that pay raise that they're talking about that hasn't happened in 40 years for E1s to E5s, that's well deserved. Like, I could appreciate that being a part of that for them.
Against this bill. It doesn't lower any of my constituents' costs. Instead, it gives the Trump administration free rein to continue its chaotic, lawless dismantling of U.S. influence in the world, cutting nearly all our humanitarian development, security, and global health programs that constitute less than 1% of our federal budget. And these are not serious cost-saving measures. Instead, they make us less safe, less prosperous, less healthy. Counterterrorism programs halted, contracts with American farmers canceled, and children are left wasting away. Bird flu, Ebola, and HIV spreading, education programs ending, all done without any thought or any reason. And the vacuum's left for China, Russia, and extremists to fill. We should not be handing this president a blank check to continue his harmful sledgehammer approach to how we spend taxpayer money. I urge a resounding no vote on this bill.
Gentlelady from Connecticut reserves. The gentleman from Oklahoma is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I reserve.
Gentleman reserves. Gentlelady Connecticut is recognized.
I yield 2 minutes to the gentleman from Illinois, a member of the Appropriations Committee, Mr. Quigley.
The gentleman is recognized.
Mr. Speaker, there's a national shortage of more than 7 million units of affordable housing across America and more than 771,000 people experiencing homelessness. The CR does nothing to lower the cost of housing. That's what I was going to talk about for my 2 minutes, but after listening to this debate for so long, I think the significant correction has to be made. Programs are not fully funded and protected if you gut the agencies that operate them. Programs are not fully funded and protected if there's no one there to operate them. Under President Trump, spending bills have become a farce. He's not following the previous spending bills law that we passed. Are we saying, well, this time we really mean it. This time the president really promises he's going to follow the law. And then we don't get to the point where Article 1 is optional. Our constituents are asking us, however great you say this bill is, fool me once, shame on you, fool me twice, they're going to blame us because we believed you this time. And we believed the president who, when he gets in the room with the truth, a fight breaks out, as we've seen time again in the last month. So don't, with all due respect, don't tell us what's in this bill, how great it is, how we need to read it, when he doesn't have to follow it, and you don't complain when he doesn't follow it, and you advocate your responsibilities on Article 1 and as appropriators. And I yield back.
Members are reminded to refrain from engaging in personalities towards the United States President. Gentlelady from Connecticut reserves. Gentleman from Oklahoma is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I continue to reserve my time.
Gentleman reserves. Gentlelady from Connecticut recognized.
Mr. Speaker, I yield 1 minute to the gentleman from New Jersey, the distinguished ranking member of the Energy and Commerce Committee, Mr. Pallone.
Gentleman's recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. One of my colleagues on the Republican side earlier asked what Democrats are fighting for. And I want to say I'm a proud Democrat fighting for America's health care. And I want to stress that this partisan Republican bill cuts American health care. This bill slashes funding for our community health centers, which provide care for millions of people, as well as our nation's teaching hospitals, which train the next generation of doctors. It fails to reverse the Medicare physician pay cut, which endangers access for seniors, especially those in rural and underserved communities. It also does nothing to stop Republicans' planned catastrophic cuts to Medicaid. Rather than voting on this partisan bill, we should be working together to lower costs and expand access to health care like the bipartisan agreement we had in December. That bill provided long-term certainty and funding increases for our community health centers, for our teaching health centers. It lowered drug costs by taking on unfair PBM practices and addressed the Medicare cuts to physicians. Unfortunately, Republicans walked away from this agreement because Elon Musk opposed.
Gentleman's time's expired. Gentlelady's reserves. Gentleman from Oklahoma is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I continue to reserve.
Gentleman reserves. Gentlelady's recognized.
Speaker, I yield 1 minute to the gentlewoman from New York, the distinguished ranking member of the Small Business Committee, Ms. Velasquez.
Gentlelady's recognized.
Thank you, and thank you for the gentlelady for yielding. I rise today in strong opposition to this reckless Republican funding bill. Republicans claim this is a clean CR, but the facts tell a different story. This bill slashes $23 billion from veterans' benefits, turning its back on the brave men and women who serve our country. It guts health care, leaving families, children, and seniors vulnerable, and it slashes affordable housing, putting thousands, including veterans, domestic violence survivors, and people with disabilities at risk of losing their homes. If these cuts weren't bad enough, the Vice President said this morning that this administration will continue to refuse to spend money on programs they don't like. I will not vote for a CR that greenlights these dangerous cuts. Democrats are ready to fund the government, but we will not stand by while Republicans sell out the people we are sworn to serve. I urge my colleagues to reject this dangerous bill. I yield back.
Gentlelady reserves. Recognized.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. I continue to reserve.
Gentleman reserves. Gentlelady's recognized.
I yield 1 minute to the gentleman from California, the distinguished ranking member of the Veterans Affairs Committee, Mr. Takano.
Gentleman's recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise in opposition to this partisan Republican spending bill because it guts the PACT Act and abandons veterans exposed to burn pits and other toxins. House Republicans claim to support the PACT Act, but their actions tell a different story. They're eliminating the funding for PACT Act recipients starting in October, cutting off critical health care and benefits for those who sacrifice for this country. Last Congress, Democrats forced Republicans to fully fund this critical program. Now Republicans are taking Elon's chainsaw to it, slashing $23 billion and breaking our nation's sacred promise to our veterans. Where you invest your money shows what you truly value. And by gutting this funding, Republicans have made their priorities clear. I stand with our veterans, I stand firm in our priorities and promises, and I will not stand by while Republicans rip them apart. I urge my colleagues to vote no on this partisan Republican spending bill.
Yields. The gentlelady reserves. Gentleman from Oklahoma is recognized.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. I continue to reserve.
The gentleman reserves. Gentlelady is recognized.
I yield 1 minute to the gentlewoman from the District of Columbia, Ms. Norton.
Running out of time. Gentlelady is recognized.
This CR is an act of fiscal sabotage against the District of Columbia and abuse of Congress's power over disenfranchised DC. This CR will result in an immediate cut of more than $1 billion from DC's $21 billion budget 6 months into DC's fiscal year. For the last 20 years, DC has been able to operate under the local budget enacted by DC for the next fiscal year, for the duration of every CR. This CR does not allow DC to do so. Instead, the CR effectively repeals the fiscal year 2025 local budget enacted by DC, which DC has been operating under for 6 months, and restores the fiscal year 2024 local budget enacted by DC, which DC stopped operating under 6 months ago. This cut to DC's local budget does not have the federal government any money because of DC's local budget consists entirely of locally raised revenue. I urge voters to vote no.
Time's expired. Gentleman from Oklahoma is recognized.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. I continue to reserve.
The gentlewoman's time has expired.
In that case, will I inquire how much time I have, Mr. Speaker?
You have 6 minutes.
I won't use it all, but I give
okay.
myself the balance of my time. You know, been an interesting debate. Been a lot of things said that are exaggerations, a lot of things said, in my view, that are fabrications. Let's talk about a few of those. There's nothing in this bill about Social Security. There's nothing in this bill about Medicare. There's nothing in this bill about Medicaid. There aren't cuts in nutrition for the poor. There's a $500 million increase in WIC at the request of the president. There's not cuts in housing. There's an increase in housing to try and adjust for inflation. We'd been better off probably if we'd negotiated a deal, but that didn't happen. So, proactive thing. There's more money in here to take care of junior enlisted personnel. I don't think that's probably an article of much dispute. It certainly shouldn't be. And I can go charge by charge. Yes, on the toxic exposure fund, we're going to deal with that in the 26 bill. It's for 26. Everything's funded for 25. That's what this bill covers. It's an appropriations bill for FY25. So that's what we're covering here. We're going to deal with the 26 bill, and then we'll deal with that issue. I voted for the PAC Act. I believe in it. I voted for additional funding for it. I suspect we'll find common ground there. So there's a lot of, fireworks around this bill. Let's just talk about what it does. It's pretty simple, guys. It's a CR. It's a continuing resolution. Your own leadership came out against it before they ever saw it. Maybe that's why we have all these fabrications and hallucinations about what's in it. It's pretty short. It's 99 pages. Read it. Now, I'm sorry everybody didn't get their projects. I really am sorry about that. We don't do that in CRs. So the big cuts here are mostly the elimination of congressional projects. I think most of those are worthy. I support them. I actually support the reform some of my friend, the good friend, the ranking member put in there. I think she did a great job for this institution. But we can't do them in a CR. We just don't do them. So people are upset about that. I'm sorry about that. But at the end of the day, there's only one important thing that matters here. You can vote yes and keep the government open. Whatever your problem is, whatever your concern is, it's going to be worse in a government shutdown, not better, worse. So whatever you're worried about, shutting down the government is not the answer to your concern. You're only going to make it worse. Keeping the government open is the right thing to do. I wish we could have gotten a deal, but we're not going to sit here and concede the executive authority of a Republican president because it upsets you. Not going to happen. We made that crystal clear, and I think that was a big thing. It wasn't a top line number. We basically got to a top line number. So we're here, and the government shutdown is 4 days away. So if you want to vote no and shut down the government in 4 days, if you succeed, that's your choice. I respect every member's vote. I've never voted for a government shutdown. I've always voted to reopen the government. I don't like government shutdowns. I don't think they work. I think you'll find if you succeed in shutting down the government, that it won't work very well for you either. It never works. So I think you'd be better advised to vote yes than to have to defend a vote to shut down the government personally. But actually this body will not have the final say. It's going to go to the United States Senate, and you have the power in the Senate to shut down the government if you choose, because they have a filibuster over there. They have 60 votes. So if you're worried about it, just let it go over there. You've got the power in that body to do it. So if you want to shut down the government, your choice. But Mr. Speaker, I think the choice is crystal clear. If we took a poll on it, the American people were asked, do you want to shut down the government? The overwhelming answer would be no. Do you think you should keep the government open and keep working on our problems? That would be an overwhelming yes. So I choose to do what the American people want to do, keep the government open. That's what my constituents want. Maybe yours want to shut it down. Mine don't, and I suspect yours don't either. So with that, Mr. Speaker, I would just suggest we set aside the rhetoric and the intense feelings and just do the right thing. And the right thing is to vote yes and keep the government open. So, Mr. Speaker, I urge my colleagues to support this bill. I urge them not to vote to shut down the government, and I yield back the balance of my time.
The gentleman yields. All time for debate has expired pursuant to House Resolution 211. The previous question is ordered on the bill as amended. The question is on engrossment and third reading of the bill. Those in favor say aye. Those opposed say no. The ayes have it. Third reading.
A bill making further continuing appropriations and other extensions for the fiscal year ending September 30th, 2025, and for other purposes.
For what purpose does the gentlewoman from New York seek recognition?
Mr. Speaker, I have a motion to recommit at the desk.
Clerk will read the motion.
Ms. Ming of New York moves to recommit the bill H.R. 1968 to the Committee on Appropriations.
Pursuant to Clause 2B of Rule 19, the previous question is ordered on the motion to recommit. The question is on the motion. Those in favor say aye. Those opposed say no. The noes have it. The motion is not.
Speaker, I ask for the yeas and nays.
The yeas and nays are requested. Those favoring a vote by the yeas and nays will rise. A sufficient number having arisen, the yeas and nays are ordered. Pursuant to Clause 8, Rule 20, further proceedings on the question will be postponed. Proceedings will resume on questions previously postponed. Votes will be taken in the following order. The passage of H.R. 1156, the motion to recommit on H.R. 1968, and passage of H.R. 1968 if ordered, as well as passes on House Joint Resolution 25. First vote will be a 15-minute vote. Pursuant to Clause 9, Rule 20, remaining votes will be 5-minute. Pursuant to Clause 8 of Rule 20, the unfinished business is on the vote of H.R. 1156, on where the yeas and nays are ordered. Clerk will report the title.
And in calendar number 2. H.R. 1156, a bill to amend the CARES Act to extend the statute of limitations for fraud under certain unemployment programs and for other purposes.
Questions on the passage of the bill. Members record their votes by electronic device. This is a 15-minute vote.
time is left? I think it says 10 minutes. I can't see. I can't see because this MSNBC banner. I can't see if that's like a 10 or a 9. Alright guys, I can't see it right now. I can't see how many minutes is left. This is live, so I can't see the time remaining because this MSNBC banner right here. That sucks. Right now, Republicans 67 yay, Democrats 41 nay. Oh God. So it might say 10 minutes. I literally just can't see it because of the banner. But I think they have, oh yeah, it was 10 minutes because it looks like it's single digits now. So it looks like they have 9 minutes and 52 seconds to finish this vote out. Right now we got Republicans 70 yay, Democrats 42 nay. Now remember, the Democrats, they want the government to shut down. So they actually don't care if this happens. This was their goal. This was one of their goals, and we see Hakeem Jeffries, Adam Schiff, like Jasmine Crockett over and over again. Like, it's not our fault if this happens. It's not our fault. So I just think it's amazing because they're literally trying to take all the responsibility off of them. The funny thing is, we do have some Democratic votes for the bill that President Trump is trying to pass, and that probably goes to the gentleman we heard speaking earlier when he said, listen, like, to vote against this bill would be to, take away from our military service members who this would be the best raise that they've gotten in 40 years. Like, I don't want to take away from them in that. There are some really good things in the bill that I particularly, mainly the military part of things, if I'm transparent, but the whole bill's not horrible, right? So the Democrats want the bill to not pass, but we actually have some Democrats who voted yes. We actually have 18 Democrats that said yes to the vote, to the bill, or yes to the vote. So either way, right now it's 79 Republican yay, 44 Democrat nay, and actually 19 Democratic votes on the yay. So we have some Democrats in there. It might not, it's clearly not going to be the entire House, but we have some Democrats in there that have some sense. I feel encouraged about this. Perhaps, is Senator Fetterman one of them? Huh. He should be voting on the bill. Okay, I think they have like 7 minutes left. So... a lot of people aren't paying attention to it because there's only about probably 3,000 to 4,000 people watching. That could be because of the time and people coming home from work. So right now we got 84 yay on the Republican side, 47 nay on the Democratic side, and we actually have 24 Democratic yays. Yeah, I know this bill's gonna get passed because we have no nays on the Republican side and no vote. We have 134. We do know that, I believe his name is Thomas Massey. They were talking about it in the news earlier today that there may have been some friction because he was saying he was going to vote against the spending bill. But at this point, even if he did, it wouldn't matter because there's literally 25 Democratic votes for the yay side. So even if all the Republicans would have voted, the vote still would have passed. Even if one or two of them didn't vote, I'm pretty sure it would have passed. But either way, at this point, it just doesn't matter because there are literally 27 Democratic votes. So since I first started talking about it, now it's 30. The Democratic vote jumped up, 21 votes just since I've been talking. So yeah, it's definitely gonna pass. Without a doubt, I feel like it's gonna pass. And I hope it does. I think some of the Democrats actually have gotten some sense and they're like, you know what? Doge probably isn't that bad. Like, everybody's not going to agree with Jasmine Crockett, right? No offense to Jasmine Crockett. Like, she's out there. She gets it. You know what I'm saying? AOC, she's out there. She's getting it. Bernie Sanders, he's been hitting different states, and he's been drawing crowds. They're not huge crowds, But you know, the media is going to pump it up. But he's drawing 4, 5, 9,000 members of crowd. So I mean, there are some out there that are still pushing for this whole democratic, I think, far leftist agenda. But there are some out there that are like, no, you know, I actually am benefiting from what Doge is doing because I'm an American, and this is what I've been saying. Like, you don't root against your own football coach, your own captain of the team, right? You don't hope your own quarterback breaks their ankle. So the Democrats working against Trump, I'm not sure why they think the American people want to see that, but they're wrong, and time again they've been proven wrong. But at this point, just with the way the Democratic vote is going, there's no way the bill's not going to pass. Like I said, if all of the Republicans would have voted, even with the exception of 1 or 2, it would have passed. But now, even with the exception of, let's say, 5 don't vote, still, we have 39 Democratic votes. Usually when I see these votes, especially if the Democrats just do not agree and they just hands down don't want to do it, the vote's not even up that high. Like, I've seen this vote cap out at 2, I've seen it cap out at 7, I've seen it cap out at 11 or 9. So to get up to, now it's at 43. It's literally jumped 13 votes. So to get up, I'm definitely thinking to myself, we have no nays on the Republican side yet. So far, every single Republican that has voted has said yes to this. We have 64 no's on, 65 on the Democratic side, no. But then we have 43 that are saying yes. The Democrats are literally almost split on this, and that I wasn't expecting. I literally thought that they were going to, I'm going to see what the final number comes out to, but I literally thought the Democrats were going to play harder than this. But that's why I think that Doge is just beneficent. Like what Elon Musk has been doing, like it or hate it, you know, if you want to get mad about money being saved, get mad about it. It's weird. But at the end of the day, Doge has real findings. He's extremely transparent about what he finds. He lists it on Doge line for line. And he always says in all of his interviews, I'm going to react to probably one of them tomorrow that he did on Fox News the other day. He says, you know, every single time people say, well, we don't like, you know, you cutting costs or what you're cutting, he'll go to them and he'll say, well, on what line? Like, show me on what line don't you agree with? And they can't point to it. You know, like you have a weird rhetoric going out there like, oh, Joe Rogan spoke about it. Like, oh, mothers aren't going to be able to feed their children, and you know, like women aren't going to get any help and people are going to starve and die. And Elon's like, where's this rhetoric coming from? Like anytime we ask people to point to on a Doge website or wherever, right, because we're very transparent, what line don't you agree with? Where do you feel like we're being dishonest at? He's like, nothing's coming up. And that's because there is nothing to come up. Like he's literally doing it honestly. You know what I mean? So he's like, when people are saying like, oh, you're going to cut like welfare and you're going to cut like, you know, government assistance and all this stuff. He's like, no, actually, on the contrary, those are things that we're actually trying to save. We can't save those things if money's going to all these other stupid places that don't matter. He's like, but we actually can save things like Social Security and things like that if we cut spending. Oh, all of these freaking non-GO things that they, organizations that they found were ridiculous, right? Non-government funded organizations, but they're being funded by the government. And then when you funnel this money to them, it can't even be tracked. Come on, man. All right, so right now, the Republicans have 139 yes, and the Democrats 54 yes. So 81 nays for the Democrats, but that's why I said at this point the bill's passing. It's passing, and I am actually glad that it's passing because the funding needs to stay in place, like President Trump said, at least until September, so he can get us through. They're gonna have even more findings. I'm confident in that. And you know, I just have to keep being confident that, you know, it reminds me something of what Candace always said. Even people that don't look like me, you know, and don't pay attention to the news, that look like me and don't pay attention to the news, I have to be encouraged and just keep going. I have to make sure that I'm putting it out there and they can see it, because there's a lot of people who are so uninformed and they go to the polls uninformed. And this is the type of stuff that matters. You know, maybe, probably, I don't know, the 17, 18, you wouldn't have caught me dead even trying to watch something like this or paying attention to it. And even though in the Marine Corps I switched over and I pretty much thought to myself, you know, I can't be totally liberal or democratic. Like, I don't even agree with everything this party says or does. So let me look more on the conservative side. ever since then, I haven't really turned back. It always depends on what the presidential candidate stands for. That's what I go by. So this type of stuff, years ago, I wouldn't have paid attention to because I would have been out somewhere doing something that's totally meaningless, right? And not paying attention to the bills that are being passed in my country and in my government, right? And how they affect everyone, and then being totally oblivious to it. Whereas now, this type of stuff is important to me. So that's why I show up here every single day. And I make sure that I cover the news and I'm here with you guys and we're talking about it and we're commentating on it. And I find really good sources for you guys. That's my main thing, good sources. So we got about a minute left, less than that now. It is the Republicans 169, Democrats 69. 104 no's for the Democrats, but 69 yeses and 171 yeas for the Republicans. So yeah, the vote is, the bill's definitely gonna pass because even at the totals mark, we got 241 yay, 109 no, so it's pretty much a wrap right there. It's crazy because a part of me feels like mainstream media doesn't want people to they don't want people to catch things like this or pay attention to it. Because I was literally online trying to figure out when this was gonna happen. Yesterday, like I'm like, did this vote already take place? Like, did the bill already pass? I'm doing the research, I can't find it. And then like finally today I look and I'm subscribed to the White House newsletter, so you can go on the White House and you can actually see a daily briefing, and they do it every single day on there. So I went on there and I was watching the White House press secretary, Caroline, give her like daily briefing, and she was the one that actually said it. She said, you know, President Trump is going to have, well, there's going to be the Senate hearing soon here in a couple of hours where they will vote on the spending bill to avoid shutdown. So when she said that, I'm like, oh, they haven't done it yet, because I was able to look and see how long ago she had posted it. So then I looked online, I was looking, and I really wanted Fox. I wanted to find Fox covering it. Most of the time, if I go to mainstream media route, I'm gonna go to Fox News for the most part. Shout out to Jesse Waters, like he's the man. But other than that, like I can only find MSNBC covering it. But I was like, whatever, you know, it's live, so I'm gonna take it. I don't like MSNBC. I don't feel like they're very credible personally. But this is live, and the cameras are here on the House, on the Senate, so there's nothing that can really be fudged with, for lack of better terms. So I'm not that worried about it. But nonetheless, we got 191 yays and 77 yays. So 191 yays from the Republicans, 77 yays from the Democrats. Yay Democrats. And the total is 269 yays and 118 nays. So yeah, it's a wrap. The bill's gonna pass. I was hoping this because the Democrats had me worried, man. Like the way they've been talking the last couple of days, I'm like, what is wrong with these people? Like they were literally like, we're not gonna vote. That leave it to the Republicans. Hey, if it gets shut down, that's not our problem. We're not gonna be their doormat. You know, they have the Senate, they have Congress, like they have the presidency, like it's up to them to keep the government going. And I'm just like, oh, come on, Democrats, like y'all are killing me right now. I'm telling you, this is the kind of stuff that I know a lot of people aren't paying attention to it. But watch, you go back tomorrow and all of these different channels will have all of these different views on it, because people will go back and look and they will have missed it. And this was something that I wanted to catch it live. I just wanted to watch the vote. There's been a couple of times when I've been able to catch the House voting on bills, and I usually like to catch the vote actively. I don't know, it's just fun for me to watch. But from now on, when I'm able to catch it, because plenty of times I've watched this stuff by myself, I'll actually just stream it live and I'll go over the numbers with you guys. Because I know a lot of people might not care about, what does that matter, if like House votes on spending bills are passed or not. Well, it does matter, because if it wouldn't have gotten passed, right, the government would have shut down today. Now that's something that a lot of people weren't paying attention to. So now people would have woken up tomorrow after being so entangled within their own world and said, what, there's a government shutdown? It would have been this big surprise. But even though we know the bill's going to pass, like, we can actively sit here and watch the bill pass and know that the bill's going to pass and confidently pass. And also you get to have a little bit of background information, right? Because now you don't have to be in a group with their friends and they're like, oh, that bill passed. It probably passed only by it probably passed only by 2 Republicans, or all the Democrats probably voted no. And actually, no, when we get to sit here and watch it and get some background information, we can see right here on live that the Republican is 210 yes, the Democrat is 83 yes, and the Democrat is also 126 nay, which makes no difference at all, because just with the amount of Democrats that said yes, I already knew the bill was going to pass. So this is another way that we can tell, right? Because it doesn't always guarantee, there's no guarantee all the Republicans will vote. Like a Republican doesn't have to choose nay, they can just choose not to vote. They can just say, I elect on this one that I will not vote. I've even heard things, I don't know how true this is, but I've even heard that they can miss the vote, which now finding out about all this wasted fraud, I don't know how much I trust that. They can miss the vote or someone manipulates the vote. Which one is it?
On this vote, the yeas are 295, the nays are 127. The bill is passed. Without objection, a motion to reconsider is laid on the table. Pursuant to Clause 8 of Rule 20, the unfinished business is the question of agreeing on the motion to recommit on H.R. 1968. Offered by the gentlewoman from New York, Ms. Meng, on which the yeas and nays were ordered. The clerk will redesignate the motion.
Motion to recommit H.R. 1968, offered by Ms. Meng of New York.
The question is on agreeing to the motion to recommit. Members will record their votes by electronic device. This is a 5-minute vote.
Oh my goodness, come on. How are they doing? Do they have like a database that they go on to do this? Because those votes are flying. Oh, come on. See, now the Democrats there. Oh my God. Dude, I already know what this is. Like, I have a feeling I know what they're doing. I knew that's what they were doing. I literally just wanted to fact check my own self, but I'm just like, they're so annoying. They didn't even vote this fast to vote for the bill. These votes for the Democrats are flying on a motion to recommit. Like, this is ridiculous. Like, oh my gosh. Don't do it. Do not do it. Bro, why, bro? Come on. How do you have one Republican over there saying yay? I know President Trump is probably like, who is that Republican? Dude, hurry up and put the rest of them in. I'm like, why? They don't need a motion to recommit. Like, that vote was like ridiculous. The yays like slaughtered it. That's why I'm like, come on, man. Why aren't you guys voting? Because it's a 5-minute vote. Literally, the minute they put the motion to recommit up, like the vote started flying. I'm like, come on, man. They weren't even voting this fast to pass the bill now. Oh my goodness. Come on. All right, on the motion to recommit, we have Republicans, 212 nays. Democrats, of course, 211 yays. Of course they want to recommit. For those of you guys that don't know, I'm sorry I didn't read it out loud. I wasn't trying to be selfish with knowledge. I was actually just checking myself because in my mind, I'm like, oh, they're trying to make sure the bill doesn't pass. So I just wanted to fact check myself. So for those of you who do not know what a motion to recommit is, an MTR, the motion to recommit is the minority's last opportunity to amend the bill before final passage. Historically, the minority could either offer a straight motion to recommit to send the bill back to committee, or a motion to recommit with instructions, which included a proposed amendment to the bill. I'm pretty sure if they did this, they probably did a straight motion to recommit, which sends the bill back to committee. My gosh, the vote is one vote apart. They are ridiculous. Dude, so that's what they did. I wonder if there's like a limit of times that you can do that. Under clause 2, yes.
On this vote, the yeas are 213 and the nays are 216. The motion is not adopted. The question is on the passage of the bill. Those in favor, please say aye. Those opposed, please say no. The ayes have it. The gentlewoman from Connecticut.
On that, I request the yeas and nays.
The yeas and nays are requested. Those favoring a vote by the yeas and nays will rise. A sufficient number having risen, the yeas and nays are ordered. Members will record their vote by electronic device. This is a 5-minute vote.
see, that's crazy how close the vote is now. Because before that, it was like blowing it out, and now it's like really, really close. So if they're saying that the minority can do this, the minority must be the party that lost, right? That's crazy. I wonder if the Democrats did it because, like, maybe they felt like enough Democrats weren't like paying attention or something, or maybe they wanted to see if they could win over some Republicans. I mean, I only see one day over there on the Republican side, but last time we didn't have any, so that's interesting. Yo, that's crazy. Because now it's like none of the Democrats said yay. So after the House called a motion to recommit and they voted on that, and then 216 people basically said no. They're voting again, but I'm wondering if this is for the bill. That's crazy. Come on. So far we got Republican 205 yays, Democrats 207 nays, and there's a Republican that said nay. I wonder who that is. Who are you, special one? It's almost done. Babe, you got my what we got? 213 years and 212 nay. Yay, nay. Yeah, 214 to 212. Come on. 215 and 212. Yeah, there were some Republicans that voted no. That's the only way. Yeah.
On this vote, the yeas are 217, the nays are 213. The bill is passed without objection. The motion to reconsider is laid upon the table. Pursuant to Clause 8 of Rule 20, the unfinished business is on the vote of the passage of HJ 25, on which the yeas and nays are ordered. Clerk will report the title of the joint resolution.
Union Calendar Number 3, House Resolution 25, joint resolution providing for congressional disapproval under Chapter 8 of Title 5 United States Code of the rules submitted by the Internal Revenue Service relating to gross proceeds reported by brokers that regularly provide services effectuating digital asset sales.
Question is on passage of the joint resolution. Members record their vote by electronic device. It's a 5-minute vote.
This live stream has concluded. All right, guys. So they went ahead and they stopped it there. So I know that they will be covering more of it. I can check and see if it's live anywhere else, but I'm like, oh, they didn't want to leave it up. Cause see, MSNBC can't be trusted. I tell you guys this all of the time.
Introducing Outplayed. Record anything on your PC. Highlight reels. Let's play set.
A live picture there inside of Capitol Hill. Lawmakers may soon be leaving the chamber. They might step up to this microphone and speak to lawmakers and reporters about what's going on. We also have plenty of different media members on the steps of Capitol Hill waiting comment from this here on Live and Now from Fox. So we're following it very closely. I do want to put up just this graphic right now of what some of the votes are here on Capitol Hill as Chad Burgum reporting it. The lone GOP no was from Thomas Massey. Golden is the lone Democrat voting yay.
Well, yeah, we're
215. A Maine Democrat, Jared Golden, voting in favor of this. Potentially we could hear from him. We'll hear from Democrats as they were trying to be unified behind this moment. As Speaker Mike Johnson, as you were just hearing as I was just talking, unified behind this moment. As Speaker Mike Johnson, as you were just hearing as I was just talking about, honestly, just daring Democrats to vote to potentially shut down the government. It moves through in a big way. So just a few live pictures that we're monitoring here on Live Now from Fox of this big vote that goes through here on Live Now from Fox. All right, so
at Comex, we serve those.
All right, guys, I'm going to switch gears a little bit,
just a little bit,
and I'm going to hop over to where is it at? President Trump. He's doing a roundtable quarterly meeting, so I'm going to jump over to that. We can listen to that because he's live.
What the hell's going on? 80%, and largely, I mean, we had to do it carefully, and we had some little hiccups, not big hiccups.
Started about
so we saved a tremendous amount of money for the future. This is going into the future.
Finish this live
and
up,
in some cases it would be 80, and in some cases it would be 5% or 2% or 3%, you know, depending on the agency. But and you can almost.
I'll come close out, and then we'll wrap it out tomorrow, guys. So have fun listening.
Look at some of the agencies and see which ones had to be cut and which ones didn't. Also in terms of their importance and in terms of being current. So we saved a tremendous amount of money, and I think, you know, I don't know if it's going to reach $1 trillion, but it's going to reach a lot. And it was an honor to have Michael there yesterday. You got to see a little bit of it. We had a conference, and a lot of investment coming into our country, much more than I've ever seen. Apple is investing $500 billion. IBM was with us yesterday, and they're investing a lot. Just companies all over. I could name them. You've read most of them, many of them. But hundreds of billions of dollars is being invested that wouldn't have happened if I didn't win the election, number one. And I think number two, the tariffs are having a tremendously positive impact. They will have, and they are having. We have car companies that are not building in Mexico now, they're building in the United States. Some of them, the plants were already started and they stopped construction, and now they're going to build in the United States. It was very unfair that they build in Mexico and sell them across the border with no tax, no nothing. They take away our jobs, they close up places in Michigan and all over the country, and they build them in Mexico. In many cases, they were owned by China. Built in Mexico, owned by China. And that's all stopped now. They're all coming here. Honda is building a massive plant in different places, Indiana, South Carolina, but also in Michigan. A lot in Michigan. A lot of activity is happening. They're looking all over the place for places, and that's because there is a good spirit, there's a renewed spirit, and also, very importantly, the tariffs are, they don't want to pay 25% or whatever it may be. It may go up higher, Look, the higher it goes, the more likely it is they're going to build. And ultimately, the biggest win is not the tariff. That's a big win, it's a lot of money. But the biggest win is if they move into a country and produce jobs. That's a bigger win than the tariffs themselves. But the tariffs are going to be throwing off a lot of money to this country. And we've been ripped off for years by other countries, many, many decades. And they were doing the same thing. But I think we'll do it better. And I think we have a bigger advantage because we really are the piggy bank. They weren't.
Thank you, Mr. President. You've also mentioned rebuilding the top priority. And I guess, what's your strategy to lower the overall cost of living we make every day?
When I saw what was happening with this, the concerted effort by I think they paid agitators. And when I saw what was happening, I said, I want to buy a Tesla. And we just went to the front. He had 4 beautiful cars there. And I bought one in front of the press. It was a very public purchase. And they're beautiful and do a great job. Very good competitors with Mary and everybody else. He's done a great job. And he shouldn't be sacrificed or have to suffer because he wants to help government. It's not that he's a Republican, which he's, not the strong. I mean, sometimes I'm not even sure what he is in terms of his philosophies, but he's a great guy. He's a patriot. He wants to see the country straightened out, and he's done a fantastic job with those. We've found massive fraud, abuse, waste, and we had many, many jobs where there was nobody working but getting a check. We had contracts that expired years ago, but they were continuously being paid. Probably, I'll bet you it's $500 billion perhaps if you add it up so far. And we're trying to get to $1 trillion. That's a big number. And he did have an ability to do something that a lot of people didn't think of. He'd come in with bigger ideas. We'd say, we want you to cut down the size of your agency by 2%. And we thought that was good. He came in, he said 80%. I said, what the hell's going on, 80%? And largely, and we had to do it carefully, and we had some little hiccups, not big hiccups. But we saved a tremendous amount of money for the future. This is going into the future. And in some cases it would be 80, and in some cases it would be 5% or 2% or 3%, depending on the agency. And you can almost, you're all great professionals at top, and you can almost look at some of the agencies and see which ones had to be cut and which ones didn't. Also in terms of their importance and in terms of being current. So we saved a tremendous amount of money, and I think, I don't know if it's going to reach $1 trillion, but it's going to reach a lot. And it was an honor to have Michael there yesterday. You got to see a little bit of it. We had a conference. And a lot of investment coming into our country, much more than I've ever seen. Apple is investing $500 billion. IBM was with us yesterday, and they're investing a lot. Just companies all over. I could name them. You've read most of them, many of them. But hundreds of billions of dollars is being invested that wouldn't have happened if I didn't win the election, number one. And I think number two, the tariffs are having a tremendously positive impact. They will have, and they are having. We have car companies that are not building in Mexico now. They're building in the United States. Some of them, the plants were already started and they stopped construction, and now they're going to build in the United States. It was very unfair that They build in Mexico and sell them across the border with no tax, no nothing. They take away our jobs. They close up places in Michigan and all over the country, and they build them in Mexico. In many cases, they were owned by China. Built in Mexico, owned by China. And that's all stopped now. They're all coming here. Honda is building a massive plant in different places, Indiana, South Carolina, but also in Michigan. A lot in Michigan. A lot of activity is happening. They're looking all over the place for places, and that's because there is a good spirit. There's a renewed spirit, and also, very importantly, the tariffs are, they don't want to pay 25% or whatever it may be. It may go up higher. Maybe go up higher. Look, the higher it goes, the more likely it is they're going to build. And ultimately, the biggest win is not the tariff. That's a big win. It's a lot of money. But the biggest win is if they move into our country and produce jobs. That's a bigger win than the tariffs themselves. But the tariffs are going to be throwing off a lot of money to this country. And we've been ripped off for years by other countries, many, many decades. And they were doing the same thing. But I think we'll do it better. And I think we have a bigger advantage because we really are the piggy bank. They weren't.
Thank you, Mr. President. You've also mentioned rebuilding the American priority. And I guess, what's your strategy to lower the overall cost of living and make everyday?
When I saw what was happening with this, the concerted effort by paid, I think they're paid agitators. And when I saw what was happening, I said, I want to buy a Tesla. And we just went to the front. He had 4 beautiful cars there. And I bought one in front of the press. It was a very public purchase. And they're beautiful and do a great job. Very good competitors with Mary and everybody else. He's done a great job. And he shouldn't be sacrificed or have to suffer because he wants to help government. It's not that he's a Republican, which he's, not the strong. I mean, sometimes I'm not even sure what he is in terms of his philosophies, but he's a great guy. He's a patriot. He wants to see the country straightened out, and he's done a fantastic job with Doge. We've found massive fraud.
I gotta share this. You can get car insurance for as low as $22 per month. Take a look. As low as $22.
And we thought that was good. He came in, he said 80%. I said, what the hell's going on? 80%. And largely, and we had to do it carefully, and we had some little hiccups, not big hiccups. But we saved a tremendous amount of money for the future. This is going into the future. And in some cases it would be 80, and in some cases it would be 5% or 2% or 3%, depending on the agency. And you can almost, you're all great professionals at the top, and you can almost look at some of the agencies and see which ones had to be cut and which ones didn't. Also in terms of their importance and in terms of being current. So we saved a tremendous amount of money, and I think, I don't know if it's going to reach $1 trillion, but it's going to reach a lot. And it was an honor to have Michael there yesterday. You got to see a little bit of it. We had a conference, and a lot of investment coming into our country, much more than I've ever seen. Apple is investing $500 billion. IBM was with us yesterday. They're investing a lot. Just companies all over. I could name them. You've read most of them, many of them. But hundreds of billions of dollars is being invested that wouldn't have happened if I didn't win the election, number one. And I think, number two, the tariffs are having a tremendously positive impact. They will have, and they are having. We have car companies that are not building in Mexico now. They're building in the United States. Some of them, the plants were already started, and they stopped construction, and now they're going to build in the United States. It was very unfair that they build in Mexico and sell them across the border with no tax, no nothing. They take away our jobs. They close up places in Michigan and all over the country, and they build them in Mexico. In many cases, they were owned by China. Built in Mexico, owned by China. And that's all stopped now. They're all coming here. Honda is building a massive plant in different places, Indiana, South Carolina, but also in Michigan. A lot in Michigan. A lot of activity is happening. They're looking all over the place for places, and that's because there is a good spirit. There's a renewed spirit, and also, very importantly, the tariffs are, they don't want to pay 25% or whatever it may go up higher, maybe go up higher. Look, the higher it goes, the more likely it is they're going to build. And ultimately, the biggest win is not the tariff. That's a big win. It's a lot of money. But the biggest win is if they move into our country and produce jobs. That's a bigger win than the tariffs themselves. But the tariffs are going to be throwing off a lot of money to this country. And we've been ripped off for years by other countries, many, many decades. And they were doing the same thing. But I think we'll do it better. And I think we have a bigger advantage because we really are the piggy bank. They weren't.
Thank you, Mr. President. You've also mentioned rebuilding the top priority. And I guess, what's your strategy to lower the overall cost of living and make every day?
When I saw what was happening with this, the concerted effort by paid, I think they're paid agitators. And when I saw what was happening, I said, I want to buy a Tesla. And we just went to the front. He had 4 beautiful cars there. And I bought one in front of the press. It was a very public purchase. And they're beautiful and do a great job. Very good competitors with Mary and everybody else. He's done a great job. And he shouldn't be sacrificed or have to suffer because he wants to help government. It's not that he's a Republican, which he's, not the strong. I mean, sometimes I'm not even sure what he is in terms of his philosophies, but he's a great guy. He's a patriot. He wants to see the country straightened out, and he's done a fantastic job with those. We've found massive fraud, abuse, waste, and we had many, many jobs where there was nobody working but getting a check. We had contracts that expired years ago, but they were continuously being paid. Probably, I'll bet you it's $500 billion perhaps if you add it up so far. And we're trying to get to $1 trillion. That's a big number. And he did have an ability to do something that a lot of people didn't think of. He'd come in with bigger ideas. We'd say, we want you to cut down the size of your agency by 2%. And we thought that was good. He came in, he said 80%. I said, what the hell's going on? 80%. And largely, and we had to do it carefully, and we had some little hiccups, not big hiccups. But we saved a tremendous amount of money for the future. This is going into the future. And in some cases it would be 80, and in some cases it would be 5% or 2% or 3%, depending on the agency. And you can almost, you're all great professionals at the top, and you can almost look at some of the agencies and see which ones had to be cut and which ones didn't. Also in terms of their importance and in terms of being current. So we saved a tremendous amount of money. And I think, I don't know if it's going to reach $1 trillion, but it's going to reach a lot. And it was an honor to have Michael there yesterday. You got to see a little bit of it. We had a conference. And a lot of investment coming into our country, much more than I've ever seen. Apple is investing $500 billion. IBM was with us yesterday. They're investing a lot. Just companies all over. I could name them. You've read most of them, many of them. But hundreds of billions of dollars is being invested. That wouldn't have happened if I didn't win the election, number one. And I think number two, the tariffs are having a tremendously positive impact. They will have, and they are having. We have car companies that are not building in Mexico now. They're building in the United States. Some of them, the plants were already started and they stopped construction, and now they're going to build in the United States. It was very unfair that they'd build in Mexico and sell them across the border with no tax, no nothing. They'd take away our jobs. They'd close up places in Michigan and all over the country, and they'd build them in Mexico. In many cases, they were owned by China. Built in Mexico, owned by China. And that's all stopped now. They're all coming here. Honda is building a massive plant in different places, Indiana, South Carolina, but also in Michigan. A lot in Michigan. A lot of activity is happening. They're looking all over the place for places. And that's because there is a good spirit, there's a renewed spirit, and also, very importantly, the tariffs are, they don't want to pay 25% or whatever it may be. It may go up higher, Look, the higher it goes, the more likely it is they're going to build. And ultimately, the biggest win is not the tariff. That's a big win, that's a lot of money. But the biggest win is if they move into our country and produce jobs. That's a bigger win than the tariffs themselves, but the tariffs are going to be throwing off a lot of money to this country. And we've been ripped off for years by other countries, many, many decades. And they were doing the same thing. But I think we'll do it better. And I think we have a bigger advantage because we really are the piggy bank. They weren't.
Thank you, Mr. President. You've also mentioned rebuilding the priority. And I guess, what's your strategy to lower the overall cost of living and make every day?
When I saw what was happening with this, the concerted effort by paid, I think they're paid agitators. And when I saw what was happening, I said, I want to buy a Tesla. And we just went to the front. He had 4 beautiful cars there. And I bought one in front of the press. It was a very public purchase. And they're beautiful and do a great job. Very good competitors with Mary and everybody else. He's done a great job. And he shouldn't be sacrificed or have to suffer because he wants to help government. It's not that he's a Republican, which he's, not the strong. I mean, sometimes I'm not even sure what he is in terms of his philosophies, but he's a great guy. He's a patriot. He wants to see the country straightened out, and he's done a fantastic job with those. We've found massive fraud, abuse, waste, and we had many, many jobs where there was nobody working but getting a check. We had contracts that expired years ago, but they were continuously being paid. Probably, I'll bet you it's $500 billion perhaps if you add it up so far.
All right, guys, so I'm going to click that one right there because that's President Trump at his Business Roundtable quarterly meeting. But I can see they have it a little bit on the loop, but I let it play through just so we can hear at least the part that they did have, because that part that they have was live. So they could have just started a little bit late. But I wanted to hear some of the things come directly from him because there's like this ongoing joke, right? Like Trump, Elon is who's running the country, and Trump's giving all the power to Elon, and President Trump's not even the one really running it. It's Elon Musk, and it's actually not. So I thought it was important that we hear Donald Trump actually talk about the tariffs, and in the business meeting you can hear him say to the audience, the biggest win with the tariffs is that the higher they go, there's a bigger chance that they will build here. Well, if some of you guys are like, well, why does that really matter? Earlier today, like I said, I go on the White House website, and you can go, they have a daily briefing, a section where you can just go and they do a daily briefing. And usually it's White House Press Secretary Caroline Levitt, and she does it all of the time, right? Because she's the White House Press Secretary. So they're on the White House website as daily briefings. And it was in that briefing that I listened to where she mentioned something about, first of all, President Trump having his, the Senate, the House having their vote on a bill passing, right? We actually got to see that. So we know that the bill did pass. We know that the minority party did try to recommit, and then the bill passed again, right? So that's a good thing. But on there is where you can really see some of the tariff numbers. And when I went to that White House daily briefing, she was talking about the tariffs that other countries charge us, and she held up a diagram. Now I have a screenshot of it, but I can't show it to you guys right now because it's actually on 2 of the devices I'm using right now. So I can't show the screenshot, but I'll see if I can pull it up for you tomorrow. And literally, there are some places that are charging us like 100% on tariffs, like 150%. I think she said Japan was at 700% for rice. And I'm thinking to myself, like, and there's places getting mad at President Trump for 25%, and there's places charging us 150. This is where we have to be informed, guys, right? Like, so there's no reason why we should be beating up on our president about tariffs when in other countries they're doubling and tripling what he's trying to charge them. And that, first of all, 700% is wild. I didn't even know that it was like that in Japan, and I'm thinking to myself, if it's like that, like really, we could just have rice in America. Like, why do we have to? That's literally crazy to me. That was wild. So I'm going to do what I always promise, guys, and we're going to end our live stream with a clip from Cliff. Today, we actually did not react to news that I just had up and ready to go for you. I wanted to react to a couple of live things today. So earlier today, we got President Trump at the White House with Elon Musk purchasing his Tesla. And then early on in this live stream, we actually got the House voting on the spending bill. And then shortly after that, I switched gears over to President Trump's Business Quarterly meeting. So we were able to catch all of those things live, and I was super excited about that because that's at least one day of the week where that's what I want to kind of bring to you guys, where we're watching live news and I just kind of jump in here and do live news with you. I don't mind reacting to pre-recorded news. That's what I currently do. But I like to also catch things live. It's much more raw. It's much more like real and in time, and the reaction is just a lot better, right? So I'm glad that we got a chance to do that today, and on a Tuesday at that, right, guys? Like I'm like, that was dope that we caught that. I try to stay on top of all of the hearings and things in government that are happening live, so we can catch them together. So earlier today, we got President Trump purchasing his Tesla. We got the House voting on the spending bill, and we just finished up President Trump's Business Quarterly meeting. So now we're going to go to a clip from Cliff. This one, as you guys know, I always end my live with a Christian clip. This one, Cliff Buell is where we're at. His channel has actually grown since we have been reacting to some of his shorts at the end of the lives. So he was at 616K. Now he is at 630,000 subscribers. Shout out to you, Cliff. He does a great job. You deserve it, man. I really enjoy your content. I love the fact that at the end of every single live stream, I can kind of share this with, you know, my followers and my subscribers, and new people as well. So keep doing what you're doing, man. It's greatly appreciated. So this one today is titled, "This Jehovah Witness was in for a surprise." She was not expecting this. So as you guys know, I talked a while about this, that I was convicted and led to end my live streams with a Christian clip. I am a Christian, and I do believe that Jesus saves lives, right? So I'm always going to do this. I'm not ashamed of my faith. Always willing to talk about it out in the open and out in public. And every single time I end a live stream, this is how I end a live stream, with a Christian clip. Now, all people are welcome to this channel. It doesn't matter what walk of life you're from, whether you're conservative, liberal, independent, gay, straight, don't care, right? But I still have to follow the things that I am led to react to. So with this being said, I don't want anyone to feel like I'm coming after Jehovah Witnesses. I personally, right now at the moment, truly am not. I truly am not. But I do react to a lot of commentary, a lot of content. I do commentary on a lot of content. And also being familiar with the Bible, I don't shy away from religious topics, right? I just don't. Now, I do know that if you are unfamiliar with scripture, you can shy away from these topics, because that's usually when you hear people say, you know, I don't really like to talk about religion and stuff like that out in public. I work with people that do this all the time. Like, I'm around this stuff all of the time, right? Or people that are, you know, suspensefully quiet, you know, about their faith, whatever have you. I really don't, it doesn't really bother me either way. As I said on a previous live, I am not a person that feels compelled to tell people like, hey, you need to be saved by Jesus. If someone wants to have a conversation with me, then that's great. But I don't feel super compelled to do that unless it's something the Lord leads me to. So with that being said, we are not attacking Jehovah Witnesses. With that being said, their doctrine is pretty faulty, okay? It's pretty faulty. If you know anything about the Jehovah Witness movement, I'm not going to go super deep into that. If I wanted to give you guys a great resource, or someone I think is a great resource, I would say check out Preston Perry. I've been watching Preston for years. He does apologetics. I haven't been on the channel lately, but I know that if you go onto his channel, you can see, I think he has it maybe in a series or a playlist where you can see all of the apologetics he does. And what I like is that he's out there, right? He's on the streets and he's doing apologetics. He's face to face and he's talking to people, or they're either sitting with him somewhere, right? Public, his house, whatever have you. But Preston does an awesome job with this. Awesome. I literally couldn't think of another person that would be better unless you were going to go to a theologian scholar. And that's just shout out to Preston. That's just props to Preston. He's really good at it. And I love watching this content where he's interacting with people. So Charles Taze Russell, for those of you guys that were on here, you probably saw me look him up before I went to this clip, because I just wanted to make sure before I reacted to it, I had the right information. So Charles Taze Russell is the founder of the Jehovah Witness movement. And that was something I didn't know. I was just fact checking myself. What's bothersome about the Jehovah's Witness movement to some people is that it almost seems like Charles Taze Russell is God and not God, right? Other than that, there's other things that just the foundation of basically you can say their theology is pretty much on sinking sand, and this has been a running theme for a lot of years, just because a lot of different Bible verses that they use and they're out of context or they're reading into them the wrong way and not eisegesis, where you're reading into not in that way where they're reading into it trying to find themselves, but they're just reading into the text in the wrong way, like they're trying to kind of make it fit the foundations that Charles Taze Russell laid out, and it usually just doesn't fit. It doesn't go well. And you can find a bunch of channels on YouTube where people are either debating or sitting with or having conversations about Jehovah's Witnesses. I've watched things like this for a while, so I know a lot of the conversations can be pretty themed, meaning they can all seem pretty congruent, even though they're coming from different people. So that's what's kind of crazy, but the congruency is not what bothers me. The level of, I don't want to misuse this word because that's not how you say it, but they make so many erroneous statements, right? The level of how many erroneous statements flow together is usually what baffles me. That's usually what does it, because it's kind of like a big group of people that all have subscribed to this one thing. Granted, now people can say, well, that's Christianity. And I would say, no, that's not Christianity, because Christianity is way bigger than Jehovah's Witness. But with all of that being said, we're going to jump into this clip right here. And let's just take a look at what this encounter with a Jehovah's Witness was like.
This Jehovah's Witness knocked on the right door, depending on how you look at it. Check this out.
My name's Rose. I can't see you, but what's your name, sir?
My name is Zach.
I like to see people face to face, but I can leave you a brochure. It's about the future. How do you view the future?
Someday God is going to judge the world, and Jesus is coming back to redeem his people.
Well, it sounds like you're a Christian.
Are you a Jehovah's Witness?
How did you know that?
In John 1, it says, in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. And in verse 14, it says, the Word became flesh, so God was manifested in the flesh. Jesus is not a created being. He was with the Father from all eternity. The truth of the matter is that he is God and man. The JWs believe he's a created being, where the Bible doesn't teach that. Does not teach that.
Jehovah made his son, and that was like with the archangel, who was Jesus.
There's a place in Micah, and it says, whose goings forth are from everlasting. Jesus is eternal, and he never was created.
This Jehovah's Witness knocked on the wrong.
Oh man, she said God created his son. And that was Michael, the archangel, who was Jesus. Oh man, that was actually heartbreaking for me to hear that. That's why I was like, oh wow. But yeah, that's why he said that's why Cliff said depending on how you look at it, this Jehovah's Witness knocked on the wrong or right door. I think that guy's response was great. He didn't come face to face, which is fine, and that's probably because he was aware of what he was gonna do. But I like how he interacted with the lady, probably through a Ring telecom or something, and he goes over all of the verses in John. He even goes back to the beginning. He goes, he was in John chapter 1, because he says in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. So yeah, he's in John with that. I think his response is spot on. I thought it was great. Not confrontational, not upset that someone's knocking on his door. I'm usually not like that either. Like when Jehovah's Witnesses come to my door, I won't say that I'm ready to preach to them, but a lot of the times I will let them talk to me, and I'll let them, kind of do their thing. I'm not trying to be rude or interrupt them. And then, when they start asking me questions about God, they can usually tell, that I'm a Christian. Just like that lady responded to the guy. She said, you sound like you're a Christian, so I thought that was great. I thought his response was spot on. We have to be mindful of how we deal with people when it's pertaining to our faith, because Peter talks about this when dealing with your faith. He talks about being ready, to give an account for why you believe what you believe, but doing it with gentleness and doing it with respect. So, not bombarding people, not getting mad and cussing people out and wishing people to hell. None of that stuff. And at some point in my life, I was an immature Christian too. So I knew what it was like to be trying to talk to people about Jesus, and you feel like it's not resonating or you can't get through to anybody. So you just kind of start, spazzing out a little bit. And we're way past that now. We're way past that, right? I believe that Jesus is good. right? Other than the fact that Jesus is God, and I believe that the Holy Spirit is able. So I don't really worry about, even if I have atheist friends, even if people come on my channel and they're like, yo, man, you just believe in Jesus because you want like a sky daddy to feel good about. Okay, well, I'm a grown man. I'm not really searching for a sky daddy. But if that's how they feel, I don't care. So people come on here and say things like that all of the time, and it doesn't faze me. And really they don't, because a lot of my subscribers actually do watch me, and they've been with me for a while. But I've also had a lot of new views since I've been reacting more to news. And because it's secular news, I expect to get people who don't believe in Jesus to stumble on my channel, right? So you can't do anything about that, and that's why we got to be mindful of this person's interaction. You know, when you stumble across somebody who doesn't know Jesus, or who doesn't like Jesus, or is curious about Jesus, either way, like, the Holy Spirit is able. Like, so we don't have to worry about that. If God is calling you to talk to that person, then talk to them. If he's not calling you to talk to them, then hey, he might be calling you to just plant a real small seed and keep it moving, and that's good enough too, right? So I think his answer was like spot on with this lady. I think she's gonna remember this house. She's probably gonna be like, I should go back and visit that young man again, because that was a great answer. So guys, here we are at the end of the live stream once again, guys. Daily live stream. I always have fun with you guys when I'm chilling on the corner. You know, I had somebody ask me, because if you guys go on YouTube and you go to my channel and you go to the About section, this wasn't always like that, but you can click on, I think it says this channel's email address or something, and then you can see my email address pop up. And I do go in there and I check it, and I had somebody write me and ask me, and they were like, do you have tape on your glasses? Then I wrote back and I was like, I absolutely do. I nerd out when my glasses break. I was like, I do not rush to get glasses, and I've been like this since I was in junior high school, and my friends would do the same thing to me, and they were just like, you know, they actually wrote me back again, and we were able to kind of conversate, and they were like, you know, I could appreciate you being brave about that, because most people, and I'm like, I'm not most people, nor do I care. So it's like, I'm not worried about my glasses. Like, yes, I can replace them as fast as I can. No, I don't always care to. My mom has always gotten on me about it. It drives my wife crazy. It's fine. So yeah, that was just random, because this time I actually was able to notice it, and I was like, oh, they probably saw it from last stream. So yeah, you guys always feel free to write me in my email. Write a comment under the video letting me know if you see a story that you want me to react to, or something that you think would be good for us to just sit here and talk about while we react to it. So, once again, guys, it was fun chilling with you today, March 11th, 2025, on a Tuesday. We will be back tomorrow. It's March 12th, on a Wednesday, reacting, daily live stream, every single day except Sunday. Can't wait. Love when you guys stop by and chill on the corner with me, because this is what we do. We hang out on the corner. We talk about news. We get informed. We get knowledge. We don't go to the polls ignorant, and we understand what's happening, right? So, always great hanging out with you guys. I appreciate you guys. I will see you tomorrow. Until next time, guys, what I always say, take care of yourselves, love one another, and be peaceful. Peace.